Have you ever felt like everyone your age is winning except you? That was Tunde, 20 years old, broke, confused, scrolling through rich kids with cars and vacations, while he sat on a wooden stool in a dusty neighborhood, wondering if his life was already failing. One evening, he met his childhood friend Amara, and both confessed the same secret fear. What if we never become anything? So they went to the only man who never hurried, Baba Chike, the wise teacher under the mango tree. He listened quietly, then said the words that changed their lives. Life is not a race. Your 20s are the seed. The struggle is the cracking that makes you grow. Tunde felt tears, Amara felt hope, and something in both of them snapped back into place. They stopped competing, stopped comparing, and started building quietly. Years passed. Tunde landed a life-changing job. Amara built a brand from nothing. At 30, they looked back and finally understood. The people who rushed ahead at 20 had burned out. But the quiet ones, the builders, they rise last and the highest. There's a lesson almost every African learns too late. A lesson that is not written in books, not taught in schools, and rarely spoken about in public. A lesson that comes quietly, sometimes painfully, through experience, regret, and the slow unfolding of life. And if you happen to be 20 years old right now, this story might save you 10 years of wondering, comparing, doubting, and feeling left behind. This is not a story about success, it is a story about becoming. It begins in a small crowded neighborhood in Africa. It could be Lagos, Accra, Nairobi, Kampala, Kigali, Harare, Johannesburg. It doesn't matter. What matters is that in this neighborhood lived a young man named Tunde. And like many 20-year-olds, Tunde felt like life was moving too fast while he was moving too slow. Each morning he woke up to the sound of clattering pots, the sharp cry of steel hawkers, and the distant noise of motorcycles zooming through dusty roads. His mother was always up early, sweeping the compound, humming hymns under her breath while preparing food for sale at the market. His father, a quiet man who spoke more with his eyes than his mouth, left the house before sunrise to work as a security guard in town. Tunde loved his family, but he couldn't escape a burning fear inside him, a fear that he was already feeling in life. He often sat outside the house scrolling through his phone, watching people his age flaunting wealth, expensive cars, Dubai vacations, designer clothes, and lives that looked impossibly perfect. Some were crypto kings, some called themselves forest gods, some were influencers, glowing with confidence and money. Others were studying abroad, posting pictures of snowy cities and clean streets. And then there was Tunde, sitting on a wooden stool with cracked screens, unsure of what tomorrow even looked like. One day, after comparing himself to everyone he followed online, he whispered, "Maybe I'm already behind. Maybe I'm not doing enough." But Tunde had no idea that life does not move at the speed of Instagram posts. It moves at the speed of growth. He had a childhood friend named Amara. A girl with wide eyes, gentle laughter, and a smile sharper than most adults Tunde knew. They grew up together, chasing chickens in the compound, competing in school debates, and dreaming of big futures. But at 20, even Amara was battling her own storms. She had dropped out of university because her parents could no longer afford her fees. She tried selling thrift clothes online, but business was slow. She attempted YouTube, but nobody watched her videos. She applied for scholarships, internships, training programs, and every reply was the same: "We regret to inform you." Yet, compared to Tunde, Amara seemed focused, calm, and strangely unbothered by the chaos of early adulthood. One evening, after a long day of disappointments, Tunde walked to Amara's house and found her sitting outside, writing in a notebook. The sky above them was deep orange and purple, the kind of sunset that feels like God painting slowly across the heavens. He sat beside her and whispered, "Amara, do you ever feel like you're running out of time?" She closed her book and took a deep breath. "Running out of time?" She repeated softly. "Tunde, we are 20. We are not running out of time. We are running out of patience." Tunde frowned. "What's the difference?" Amara smiled gently. "Patience is what builds your 20s. Pressure is what destroys them." And so began a journey neither of them could have predicted. In their neighborhood was an old man named Baba Chike, a retired teacher who spent his evenings sitting under the mango tree near the community well. People often came to him for advice, though he rarely gave it freely. He had that wise, ancient way of speaking, slowly, deliberately, like each word was being measured before release. One day, when Tunde felt overwhelmed by fear that his life had no direction, he and Amara visited Baba Chike. The old man listened quietly as they poured out their frustration, not having money, not having opportunities, watching others succeed while they seemed stuck. When they finished, Baba Chike chuckled softly. "Young people," he said, shaking his head, "you think life is a race, but life is a garden. Everybody grows at a different time." They stared at him confused. He continued, "The mango tree grows faster than the coconut tree, but does that make the mango tree better? No, they simply have different destinies." He looked directly at Tunde. "You are comparing your season to someone else's harvest." Tunde felt words sink deep into his chest. Amara swallowed hard. Baba Chike leaned back and said, "Let me tell you something every young African should know." And so he told them the lesson, slowly, carefully, while the sun dipped behind the houses. "Your 20s," he began, "are not meant for luxury. They are meant for learning. They are not meant for perfection. They are meant for mistakes. They are not meant for immediate success. They are meant for planting seeds." He paused and pointed at the ground. "Do you know what happens underground when a seed is planted? It cracks, it breaks, it struggles, but that struggle is preparation. Without that struggle, it cannot grow." He looked at them both with soft eyes, wise eyes. Many of your friends flaunting success today will not sustain it. Why? Because they skip the struggle, they skip the preparation. But you, if you allow yourself to grow slowly, you will build something that will last. Tunde felt tears sting his eyes. Amara whispered, "But it's hard, watching others move so quickly." Baba Chike nodded. "It is hard, but remember, slow success builds character, fast success builds ego, and ego collapses faster than it rises." For weeks after that, Tunde thought deeply about those words. Something in him shifted. Instead of despising his slow journey, he began observing it. He started learning skills, graphic design, digital marketing, video editing, not for money, but for growth. He stopped comparing his life with those online. Instead, he started reading more, waking up early, practicing discipline, applying for opportunities quietly, and improving himself silently. Amara, inspired too, revisited her thrift business, rebranded it, studied marketing, reached out to customers one by one. She didn't blow up overnight, but slowly, steadily, her business grew roots. A year passed, then two. Tunde didn't become wealthy, he didn't become famous, but he became ready. He landed a job, not his dream job, but a job that opens doors. He started side projects, built small networks, gained confidence in his abilities, and slowly, the fog of confusion around his life began to fade. Amara's business expanded. She saved, she invested, she improved, and gradually she realized something. She was no longer chasing success, she was building it. Then one day, something unexpected happened. A company reached out to Tunde. They had seen one of his online designs. They invited him for an interview. He went, he spoke confidently, and he got the job. A good job, the kind of job that changes families. When he told Baba Chike, the old man smiled knowingly. You see, a seed grows when it's ready. By the time they were 25, Tunde and Amara realized something extraordinary. Most of the people who seemed ahead at 20 were no longer ahead. Some had burnt out. Some had made fast money and lost it just as fast. Some had chased trends instead of building skills. Some had lived to applause instead of purpose. But the quiet ones, the builders, were rising. Because in life, slow is smooth, and smooth becomes fast. By 28, Tunde had built a career he loved. Amara had expanded her business into a brand. Their journeys were still unfolding, but one thing was clear. What matters at 20 is not speed, it's direction. Not applause, but discipline. Not perfection, but growth. Not comparison, but purpose. And so, at 30, when they looked back at their 20s, they smiled. Not because everything was perfect, but because they understood the truth. Life is not a race, it is a journey, and your 20s are the training ground. If every young African understood this early, perhaps there would be less pressure, less panic, less comparison, and more growth. Steady, honest, beautiful growth. Because the real lesson is this: you are not behind, you are becoming. And one day, The seed you are planting now will grow into the tree that gives shade to many.
The end. Please subscribe to watch more of our videos. Thank you.